Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have these stunning tulip birthday cards to share with you. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to start by cutting down my black cardstock. This is going to be cut down to the same thing I usually do for an A2 size card. They're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is just half of that sheet. And of course, Aqua had to come in and check out what was up. I have a really cute little clip to share with you at the end of the video if you guys are interested, and it's just the kittens. And then I brought in the Honeybee Vintage Flora red rubber stamp, and I'm gonna stamp that down on the background. And I had so much help for these cards, that's probably why they turned out so stunning. The kittens were really interested in this card for some reason, and I'm going to clear heat emboss that onto my black mat. This is just for a fun bit of shiny texture in the background. It's pretty subtle. It's shiny, so it's eye-catching, but so are the bold colors. So on that black, it's all really pretty and eye-catching, and I had to discourage her from trying to lick my stamp that has Versamark on it. And yeah, she was just so much help in the making of these cards. So I did cover that in the Simon Says Stamp fine detail clear embossing powder, and then I'm going to do the other one as well. And I am creating 2 cards here. I find that when they're this involved, I kind of only make 2. When I make a more simple card design, I do start kind of making, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It just depends on kind of what I'm doing. But when they're a really involved one like this card, I've kind of stopped myself from making, just one, because I've got everything out. But I'm like, I'm not making several because that would take so much time. Because these were quite involved. That's why this video is a bit longer than my average video. But I think they turned out stunning. I am really happy with how these turned out. And sadly, the video and the pictures don't pick up the detail as well as you would see in person. I wish you could see this in person because it is stunning. These cards just turned out really, really beautiful. So of course I'm going to heat emboss the embossing powder here. So of course until it's melted and smooth and beautiful and shiny, and just I don't know, this background stamp. I don't have a lot of Honeybee's background stamps, like their red rubber stuff. I think that's kind of a newer thing to their lineup. At least it's newer to me, being aware that they're making them. But when I saw this stamp, it's an older one. I think it came out last year. Ooh, it maybe was even the year before. It's been out for probably easily a year. And I don't bust it out as much as I should because it's just beautiful. And it's such a fun background for this. So you guys will be shocked. I used nothing Tim Holtz, but I'm going to use my Oxide, so that's not actually true. I am going to use my Oxide inks to color the flowers just because I think they're really pretty. And then I'm going to run these beautiful background pieces through my Switch die cutting machine with the SpellBinders Postage edge rectangles. I wanted that kind of cool postage die look for the background to add a little interest, a little texture, but also to, give it a different edge. I tend to go with straight lines a lot. I don't know why. I have some cool dies in my stash that I could easily bust out and do fun things with, but I tend to, cut my cardstock down with my trimmer, and then that's kind of my edge. And I just wanted something different for this card design. I was really lucky because this card design actually turned out better than what I saw in my head when I started kind of thinking about this one. So I was really impressed with how this kind of came together. And then I've also cut out the SpellBinders Tulip Trio dies. This is a Simon Hurley die. You guys know I love florals. And I've cut everything to make 2 cards. So that's why there's 6 stems. There's, 10 leaves, I think, because I think I cut out 5. So everything that there's 2 of for 2 cards. I'm not going to show you, doing the ink blending for all of everything. It's repeated for everything. So just assume that if I'm done it for one card, I'm going to do it for the second card as well. I just may not show it just because I don't think it's necessary for you to see the same thing twice. But I used my Oxide inks for this. You could, of course, use any inks you have. You could use your Copic markers. You could use watercolors. Anything you like to color with would look stunning on these dies. These dies are really cool. It cuts up 3 different tulips and I think 4 different leaves. So I did cut one leaf twice, just so I could have 5 leaves, because I like uneven numbers. And then for my colors for the leaves and the stems, I went in with Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn. And then I brought in a tiny blender with Lucky Clover and just added a little more of a shade there. I just wanted the variation of 3 colors. I don't think it's necessary. You could pull this off with 2 colors and it would be beautiful, but I have all the inks, so why not, go in and add extra colors for entertainment value, just to get that little bit more dimension. And then for my tulip colors, I'm going to go in, of course, with Oxides again. And I'm kind of starting with whatever tulip flowers in the front. The die actually is together, so it cuts out your 3 tulip pieces and it numbers them. So it says 1, 2, 3 on the cutout and on the die. I've popped my flowers out of the cutout because I felt like that was just easier for inking purposes, but it does actually tell you, and it's really straightforward. Like, the packaging has a beautiful picture on it. It's pretty easy to figure out what needs to go where. And then for this tulip, I used Kitsch Flamingo, picked raspberry, and then a touch of abandoned coral for a little bit of something extra. I don't know. When it goes over the picked raspberry, it's just really pretty. The layering of those 2 colors together is quite beautiful. So I thought that would be kind of a fun addition to this tulip card, because I wanted that variation. So with them, you can kind of see that I'm, layering up my colors just to add something a little extra to them. This isn't necessary. Again, you guys, do it how you want to do it. I do get comments sometimes. It's like, oh, you should have done this, or why didn't you do this color, or what, like that kind of thing. If you prefer a certain color that I'm not using, by all means, give it a go. Like, when I create something, I use the colors that make the most sense to me, but they aren't going to be everybody's colors. So by all means, if yellows are not your thing, use blues. A blue tulip would have been beautiful here too. I'm very drawn to pink, purple, and yellow together. I think they look stunning, especially on flowers. So that's kind of why I went that direction, but there's no wrong color palette here. For my yellows, I went with Squeezed Lemonade, Mustard Seed, and a touch of Wild Honey. I just love the warmth that Wild Honey brings. I think that it just adds something a little bit stunning to the flower. So that's kind of where I went with that. And then for my purples, I'm going to go with Milled Lavender, Wilted Violet, and a touch of Villainous Potion. I wish I could get those purples to blend together a little bit better. You'll see here in a second when I do the purples, they don't quite blend as nicely as the pinks and the yellows do. I do wish there was one more in between color, because Shaded Lilac is more blue and I didn't want a blue toned flower. I wanted it to be very purple. So I don't know. I need to work out my purple blends a little better, I think, and kind of come up with one that gives me a little more of a seamless look, because there's such a variation between Milled Lavender and Wilted Violet, and there's a huge variation between Shaded Lilac and Wilted Violet as well. So I feel like I need one more purple. Not that Tim Holtz is bringing out any new colors, but I feel like I could use one more purple. Anyway, so I'm going to go in with those 3 colors and kind of create this tulip, and I think that it looks really pretty. I don't know if you guys know, but I had a sticker launch in my shop yesterday. So if you love stickers, or you love journaling, or you love alphabet stickers or anything like that, go and check it out. I think that I came up with a pretty great variation of stickers. I'm really proud of what I've made. So the link is in the description. You can go check that out. And there is a coupon code if you go over and purchase anything from my YouTube people. There's a little discount code in the comments or in the description as well. So you can kind of check that out if that's at all interesting to you. And then I had a struggle here. So my foam that was for my Wilted Violet kept falling off. So I got frustrated, threw it in the garbage, and just brought out another dome foam. I keep extra dome foams on hand because I ink blend quite a bit. So I like to have, quite a few extra on hand just in case, because I find that they do start to degrade after time. You need to change them out. The felt part, or the part that holds to the actual tool, starts to kind of, degrade. Or the foam degrades if I use it too much to edge something, because it kind of cuts into the fibers of the foam. So I did have to go and change that out. And then here I have this flower shaping kit. I've had this in my stash for a very long time. I never use it, but I thought this would be kind of a fun time to bust it out. So I used it on the frontmost petal of each tulip, and I just gave it a little bit of a curl so that it would just have a little more dimension and interest. Again, not necessary. However, I owned this tool and I was working with flowers, so I thought, why not give it a go, right? So that is kind of what I ended up doing here. And I just ran it across the biggest part of the floral to kind of give it just a little more dimension. And then we're going to start building the cards. Like I said, these tulips go together pretty easily, pretty straightforward. They're really pretty. You get this kind of layered look. And you can see I did add a little bit more purple to that frontmost petal just to kind of bring it up a little higher. Again, though, I wish I had a better way to mingle them. If you have a color combination with the oxides that gives you like a beautiful purple variation, let me know. Maybe I can give it a go. I find I struggle between the warm toned ones and the cool toned ones, and then getting a good kind of blend. Like the yellow and the pink have a beautiful blend to them, and then the purple is a little more stark. So not a bad thing. I mean, nature creates beautiful combinations. So it's not as if, maybe there's a tulip out there like that. I don't know. But I would like in my color blending just to have it make a little bit more cohesive color blend. So let me know if you have a great color blend for the purples, because I would be happy to try that out. And then of course I am going to stick my leaves onto my stems here, just kind of coming up from the bottom of the stem. On most of them, you can kind of see that middle one, I have it sticking out kind of the middle because I know that I'm going to have to chop one of the stems off. I don't want all of my leaves or my stems, my tulips, to be the same height. I want them to have some variation. So because of that, I need them to have variation. So I'm going to have to cut the stems down a little bit on some of them. So you can see on two of them, I actually put the leaves up a bit higher, giving myself that chance to cut that off if I need to. And then here I'm going to bring in some foam squares to help that curl stay in the petal, just because, as it gets pushed down, it might get smushed and then not really have much of a kind of fun look to it. Shade is also sitting on the glass mat here hanging out. He doesn't pop up in the videos very often, so that was kind of a cute little cameo from him. And I did add a bunch of foam squares to each one of those kind of pumped up pumped up petals so that you can see that dimension kind of stay dimensional on those flowers, because I am going to have to push them down onto the stems to even get them to adhere, and I probably would have flattened out all my cool extra dimension right doing that. So this is just an easiest way to kind of add that extra dimension. And I thought about bringing in foam tape when I went and adhered my kind of front panel, that postage stamp, to my card base. In the end, I chose not to, but I really considered it. I want them to fit in an envelope though, and I didn't think they would if I had added even more foam tape to them. So I chose to kind of not end up adding more dimension than was already here with all of what I've already added. And because I'm going to stack the flowers on top of each other as well, you're going to see you saw from the opening image that there is a fair amount of dimension already kind of going on when I kind of stick all of the flowers on top of each other to kind of create this like little tulip bouquet. The stems all kind of end up together underneath the sentiment, so that kind of gave it even more dimension on the bottom half. So I did opt not to add foam, but you absolutely could if you wanted to hand deliver this card, or you were going to make your own envelope. I opted not to, but you could. And then so that's pretty much, we're kind of created all of the elements except the sentiment. We're going to jump into that in here a second here. And for the sentiment, I went with another die cut. This is a very die cut heavy card, just because I don't know. I don't know why I just busted out all the die cuts. This is the Memory Box Happy Birthday Posh script die. And of course, if stuff is still available, I will have everything linked and listed down below for you. Sometimes you guys know that I'm big on using old stuff in my crafty space, because we purchase it and then we don't necessarily use it because there's new stuff. But so this sentiment I've had a while, that background stamp I've had a while, the postage stamps I've had a while. The only thing that's new to me is the tulips, but I think that that's an older release from Simon Hurley and SpellBinders. I don't think it's new, so I assume it's still available. I never know what's still available until I go and do the links. And I always link you to what I can link you to. But if there's anything that's just not available, I always try to find you something similar, so that if you're interested, that is something you could purchase. But yeah, so now we're going to start building the card. So I laid my postage stamp rectangle up on top of my base so that I would have an idea of how high the tulip could sit off of the card. And then of course I shifted one by accident because, I knew I was going to have to cut some of the stem off regardless. But I'm trying not to shift things as the glue grabs them. And then I'm going to kind of layer up my tulips in the center of the card near the bottom there. That's where all the stems are going to kind of go together, as if I'm building a bouquet is really kind of what I'm thinking. And then I did know that I was going to have to cut quite a bit of the yellow stem off. So I'm going to leave it hanging off of the card as I build it. And here comes Az. He's coming to check everything out. Like I said, the kitties were really interested in this card design for some reason. Usually they kind of, they just go to sleep while I create, but on this one they wandered through several times just to check out what I was up to and chew on things randomly that were sitting on the desk, of course. And then this kind of gave me an idea to tuck my little sentiment underneath that folded leaf. I haven't realized it here yet, but I'm going to lift it back up, and I'm going to tuck that little bit of the bee underneath the folded leaf, so it really feels like it's part of a cohesive design. I just thought that was really pretty. I don't know. Sometimes it's funny. I'm like crafting away and then I'm like, this would look cool. And then I have to rip something back up because I had adhered that leaf down, and then decided I really wanted my sentiment to go underneath that leaf a little bit so that it just felt like it was more a part of the design. And of course I did bust out some holographic cardstock for the sentiment just because I thought it looked beautiful. You guys know, if you've been with me for any length of time, I love shimmer and shine. It just makes me so happy. So I tend to go that direction, if I can add an element that's shiny or shimmery, I'm going to. I did ponder using some like Wink of Stella or Spectrum Noir glitter pen on the tulips themselves. I didn't in the end. I might go back and do it later. But I thought that maybe I had added enough of all these fun shimmery shiny things at this point, so I kind of was going to leave it alone. I am going to add some gems though, just because I can ultimately. And these are just these beautiful clear gems that shine stunningly in the light. So you can only see them here because of the glue underneath them. It makes them kind of look milky. Once they're fully dry though, you don't see any of that. You just see the shimmer of it. And you'll see that when I hold them up here at the end and give you a closer look at how they turned out. But these cards are stunning. I would love to hear your thoughts because I'm so excited with how they turned out. I don't know. They're even better in person than I thought they would be. And of course, Az is just chilling on the desk there, helping me out. So look at all that shine in the background. Like, how cool is that? And then of course I did use the leftover piece in the inside because I just thought that was like a fun little detail that was left over from when I cut the postage die from the background. So it turned out beautiful. But that is the video I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. My goal for the year is to hit 20,000. It would be amazing to have you a part of that. It is my dream to grow this channel, so I would love to have you. And then here is an incredibly cute clip I could not resist sharing with you guys. So this is what's going on my desk at the moment. It was just so cute. I had to show you guys the kittens. Anyway, that is what I have for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you to my channel members. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.